This segment of Trojans Live is brought to you by Rock & Riley's USC, the best place to be during the game. We welcome in our Twitter audience and all across the USC Trojans radio network as we sit down with the head coach, Clay Helton. And, Coach, first let me get your thoughts on the news of the day. You have a new boss, obviously a guy we know really well in Dave Roberts, but your thoughts as Lynn Swann, your boss of the last 3 years, resigns as athletic director today.
Yeah, I've had the great fortune of working for two great football guys, and Mr. Hayden and Mr. Swann, and thank them both for what they have taught me as a coach and as a man, and for always having the utmost concern for the student athletes in their time here, and that being their primary focus. We have a new president, and everybody's excited for Dr. Folt to be here, and have nothing but utter faith in what she is doing and the people that she is bringing in, and have utter faith that she's going to hire a great athletic director that's going to do a terrific job not only for our university but our athletic department. And while that's in stay, man, Dave Roberts, a guy that has really led our university through some hard times, and it was out at practice today, so supporting us and supporting the team and getting ready for a big BYU game.
Coach, that's above my pay grade, that stuff. I'm here for football, Coach. I want to talk about the football game. Number 9, no fear out there. Made some tough throws against Poston and Debo. Is it no fear for him, or was it just not knowing better? What'd you take from that experience there?
Well, he has a tremendous amount of poise and did exactly what we asked him to do, which was not force anything, take what the defense gave you, find the one-on-one situations, don't overthrow the wideouts, let them be playmakers, let them make plays for you. If things aren't there, don't be afraid. You're a good athlete, pull it down, get what's there, get out. He did all those things, and to be able to do it at such a young age is just amazing. Even, I've worked with quarterbacks my whole life, and being able to have a young kid, usually what happens to them, as you know as a D lineman, is their eyes come down when they see the rush. His never did the whole night. He kept his eyes up, found the open guys, even when pressure started to come. Just played really a mature game for his age.
Yeah, the poise was impressive, and I thought the poise of your whole team was impressive. You were down 17-3. We had talked a lot about all the stuff you guys worked on in the offseason would be put to the test when you fell behind. And there you were at 17-3. What was that sideline like? What was the reaction you got from your guys?
Yeah, it was. We had that "so what, now what" mentality, and that's what we've been saying. That adversity is going to hit us in the season. We play good teams. Especially this early stretch right now is a very tough task, and there'll be high times and there'll be low times, and it's a "so what, now what" mentality. That something bad happened to us. Okay, so what? Let's focus on what we got to do. And I go back, and it was 14-3. 14-3. We just turned the ball over on kickoff return, and the defense, goes out there and says, "All right, we got to go get a stop," and did. And that stop, and then the touchdown right after it, it was almost like, gosh, right, there we go. That's what we talked about. We're one score back. Let's keep it going. And from that point on, I think it was a 42-3 run.
Yeah, pretty good.
From that point on. So I'm really proud of our kids, their mental toughness, and just them working together. In these first 2 games, we may have a little fault in one area, and somebody picks us up. We only scored 3 early on offensively. The defense gets a big stop. Sure. Then all of a sudden the offense kicks in, and they're going. First game, defense and special teams really helped us get through that game after an injury. So they're leaning on each other, and they're playing for each other right now, which is really neat to see. And they're having a blast doing it, and we are too as coaches.
Coach, that wide receiver room has got to be crazy, man. You guys obviously got 8 guys that can play in there and get in there. What's it like keeping those guys happy? We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown early in the game getting a lot of passes, then Michael Pittman get going in the second half, and Tyler Vaughn's kind of doing it the whole way. How is it keeping those guys happy in that room, getting the ball to them?
Well, they're very unselfish players. We talk about being unselfish, tough, and disciplined, and that room's been the definition of it, because there's only one ball that goes around, and you got some not only good wide receivers, but you got some dang good backs too, and some good tight ends, and they're playing very unselfishly, and it started with the perimeter blocking. The big touchdown that Stephen Carr has, it's Michael Pittman going in there to crack the safety and letting the ball spring out. But, the ball is I thought Keenan did a great job of spreading the ball around to different guys. We played a lot of guys in that game. You saw John Jackson play in that game, Manir play in that game, Drake London made some plays, Devin Williams made some plays. So you saw some younger guys get in there, and when their opportunity came, we talked about whether it's one snap or 100, make the most of your opportunity, and those kids did.
You're obviously playing at a faster pace this season. One thing that stuck out to me in watching that, especially against a slower-paced team like Stanford, it puts a lot of pressure on your third down. You need to be efficient at third down, or you're off the field like that. It could be a game. You look at like the third quarter. Stanford has a drive. You had a 3-and-out. Stanford has a drive, and it's like the third quarter was almost over, and you barely touched the ball. In the game, though, you end up, I think, you basically 5 of 9, but then you got one of them on fourth down. So you really were at about 2/3 of converting, and it just seems like third down is going to be a key stat to watch all year.
Yeah, it's something that we put on our chart of what wins games, and third down efficiency is one of those 10 steps that we look at. And, a grade A, you want to be in the top 10 offensively in the country. You're at 47% or higher. That's our standard. You want to be the best in the defense, be in the top 10. You want to be 32% or less. You look at the first game versus Fresno, our defense comes out 31.2%. Offensively, we're right at 50%. This past game, 55%. Defense is right in the 36 range. So we're really doing a nice job of, one, getting off the field defensively and keeping drive lives, which that is the nature of this offense.
Yeah.
When you play fast, you can't have 3-and-outs.
Yep.
You have to be third down efficient, and we've been that in the first two games.
Let's get some love to the big offensive lineman, Coach. I want to talk about those guys. This thing doesn't run without those big fellas up. Talk about the job Coach Drevno's done with these guys. I mean, it seemed like Keaton had all day to throw the other night. Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, we actually showed it to the team today about how much time it felt like almost like 707. The amount of space he had from the line of scrimmage to where his drop.
And Stanford had some rushers too.
Yeah, and they've got really good players. And I go back to the maturity of that line that's been 3 years together growing up. You add a Drew Richmond that's a graduate transfer. It's an older bunch that's grown up together, that has a chemistry together, that gels together, roots for each other, and they're really controlling the line of scrimmage. And that was what we said coming into the game, that that game has always been won by who wins the trenches. Defensive line holds a rushing game to 98 yards for Stanford, which is unheard of for them. And then offensive line-wise, they keep our young quarterback standing up straight. And really, you look again, there's 3 rushing touchdowns on the night, getting inside that 10-yard line and finishing drives running the ball. It was really impressive by those big men.
Yeah, and you talked about it. You wanted the other 10 guys in the offense, whoever it was on the field, to play up so that the freshman quarterback didn't feel like he needed to. Boy, there were some plays out there by the playmakers. So you've looked at the film now. Give me the best catch. Amon-Ra touchdown on the bomb. Tyler Vaughn's on the sideline. Michael Pittman on the sideline. Who gets the highlight reel of the week?
Gosh, about it. I will say Amon-Ra's, that ball seemed to hang up there for about a minute and a half. I was looking at it going, God, that's a really high ball.
He caught it and got down.
I'm going to tell you the concentration he had to have, knowing that the safety was coming over and he was going to have to take a hit, I thought was really, really good. Tyler's catch, I don't know, was only few men could make because the way he had to turn to make that and get one foot down, that degree of difficulty was large. So I'd have to go between one of those two, knowing that you're going to get hit in the mouth, but it's going to be a touchdown, or being a absolute ballerina on the sideline with that toe tap that Tyler had.
He's got great hands and great feet.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach, when we come back, we will get into some defense and get into some BYU, as that is your next opponent next up for the Trojans. This segment of Trojans Live is brought to you by Rockin' Riley's USC, the best place to be during the game. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, the head coach, sitting down with us for a second segment on a Monday night as he gets ready for BYU. But before we get into your opponent this week, do want to talk some defense. We talked about it a little bit at the top, but a guy that stood out to us, and you mentioned maybe the most important segment of the game was turning them away after the turnover, and right there was Elijah Griffin. He had 4 pass breakups in the game. That's the most by a Trojan in a single game since Uchenna had that great game batting down passes against Stanford Stanford 2 years ago. But Elijah got his hands on the ball a lot. He was tested a lot. And, we talked about the young secondary. Yeah. It looks like some of those guys are starting to step up.
Yeah, I thought Clancy did a nice job of trusting them. We went into the game with severe trust, saying, hey, let's go play our style of game. We knew that Stanford always has a strong run game. We were going to have to load the box up and trust the young corners to make plays, and all of them did. Between OG and ITS and Chris Steele, those guys really came to play. And, Elijah, OG made 2 really unbelievable plays right after the turnover, if you remember. He knocks down, he gets matched up on Parkinson twice on first and third down and plays big man ball and makes 2 huge plays.
Parkinson, by the way, outweighs him by 70 pounds and has 7 inches on him. That's not a fair fight, but he uses athleticism.
Well, I tell you what, he used great technique, exactly what Coach Burns had talked about staying on top of the receiver, making sure we got our eyes to the ball to be able to play the ball at its highest point, and he played up by the rim on both of those. Made a great third down, savvy play on the sideline when the ball was a little bit high and he was a little bit out of place, and instead of going for the ball, he goes and pushes the receiver out of bounds. A really salty play, knowing the rules of the college game, knowing that even though he catches it inbounds, if his feet aren't down yet, push him out and he's out of bounds.
Coach, talk about adjustments. I know the defense was kind of put in odd, precarious positions at the start of the game. We're able to dig their way out. But talk about some of the adjustments. Obviously, they broke a 44-yard runoff, and it was maybe some gap integrity. Where were the adjustments by Clancy?
Yeah, I thought going in early, we decided to play a little bit of man coverage, and it got us out of a gap one time, in the A gap one time by the linebacker, and that was the big run. We decided to change up to go to a little bit more cover 3 that freed them up to zone drop rather than have to man and have that issue. And it helped our kids, and the gap integrity came back. And he started mixing in just a hair of cover 2. And the biggest thing that happened is we were able to play cover 2 and still stop the run on about a half dozen times, which was great to see. So I thought there were some good changes in game. It didn't even have to wait till halftime. It was about the middle of the first quarter. He says, okay, hey, we need to make this adjustment. It did a nice job.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the depth offensively. One stat that stood out to me, had 10 tackles for loss in the game by 10 different guys.
Yeah.
What does that say about your depth defensively?
Well, we've trusted a bunch of guys this year, knowing that that we could have high play counts, being in this style of offense that we're in. Scores can come quickly, and that means your defense can be out there for an extended period of time. We lost the time battle, but we won the points because we can score quick. Because of that, we really feel that we need to play 8 different guys on the defensive front and stay fresh. And that's what we're doing. And then you look up, and Connor Murphy.
Yeah, nice moment for him.
Yeah, Connor Murphy's playing 40 snaps, gets a sack, gets some hurries. Caleb Tremblay comes in, hits the quarterback a couple of times.
I like that inside move.
Yeah, Jay Tufeli makes a big 4th and 1 stop. So you're playing 8 guys that are staying fresh, staying aggressive, all have roles, and doing a really nice job.
Jordan, I got another defensive line question. Sorry, man.
Please,
I want to talk
fill
to
him
the
up.
lineman. I'm
Fill
watching Jay and I'm watching Marlon, and these guys are playing violent. Mm-hmm. They're playing violent inside. I was very impressed with their performance. Get double teamed the whole game, and when they're single blocked, they're making the tackle. It's them inside. Those 2 guys. See Marlon running down screens. Talk about their play a little bit. Obviously, Coach Chad Kidd getting them right for the year because they're playing tough inside.
Yeah, Chad's doing an amazing job with these kids, and just their pursuit to the ball, their effort, their work ethic, and they're using, even on the 4th and 1, it's lock, peek, and shed. It's like the definition. Jay locks out, he peeks, he sees the back come out, sheds them, and makes a great play. They're playing with great technique, great effort, and they're playing together all as one and being really assignment sound. Can't say enough for what the defensive staff and Chad's doing with those kids.
All right, all good at home. Now it's time for life on the road. You go to BYU this week. You jump in the rankings, you come off a big win, everything's going great. So I guess the obvious question now is, how do you handle prosperity, right? What's your message to the guys about that this week?
Well, we talked about it today, that the thing that we have to be is a mature football team and show our maturity. We've taken each game and not talked about the opponent. We've just focused on us and us getting better, and that's not going to change. We don't even mention the name of the team. We focus on us and our ability to win with technique, fundamentals, fundamentals and assignments, and we've really are winning the game on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in practice. How hard they're competing with one another, how hard the one-on-one drills are, the inside run drills, the team drills. I mean, we're winning the games in practice right now, and that's got to start again. It started today on a Monday, and the prep is what's carrying us to Saturday.
Coach, you got a BYU team that's kind of struggled stopping the run. As an offensive coach, how do you go into this game? Obviously, the air raid was big last week. We can picking up chunk yards in the air, but a team that has a weakness. Do you still run the same kind of stuff, or is it change up? How does that work?
I've said the whole time with this offense that I've been so impressed with is it's literally an offense that takes what the defense gives you, and it's all based on number count and where we feel like there are personnel mismatches. Last week we thought we had a good matchup inside with Amon-Ra, so we took advantage of that matchup. Week one we saw a very loaded coverage that dropped a bunch, so we really felt like we needed to run the ball and got 190 yards rushing between our two backs. So it's one of those you just don't go in and say, oh, all right, here we go, we're going to throw the ball 80 times or we're going to run it 80 times. It's more like, okay, what is the defense doing? What are our adjustments to it? And whatever you give us, we're going to take. My most proud two plays of the game, last game, were inside the 5-yard line, and we sat there, we lined up. You could see too high, handed the ball off, Vavai runs right in. Yep. We line up the next drive. It's one high, it's man coverage. We throw an outcut to Amon-Ra, and he walks in. So it's literally about what the defense plays and not dictating what we're doing.
All right, big game this week. Trojans hit the road. USC, BYU in Provo. Afternoon start in what should be a beautiful day in the mountains. We'll talk to Coach Helton about that game next week. But next up, we're going to hear from the quarterback, the man everyone's been talking about. It's Kedon Slovis on Trojans.